Ambassador Mahis Sachdev, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on to Sudan, the European Parliament has approved a resolution that calls for an end to the civil war in Sudan, but without any mention of the United Arab Emirates' alleged role in the conflict. According to parliamentary sources, the European People's Party has pushed to remove any reference to the UAE after lobbying by Emirati Minister of State Lana Nusseibe, who was in Strasbourg when MPs held their plenary session this week. A leaked report by UN experts published in April 2025 claimed that sophisticated weapons were smuggled via the UAE and Chad into Darfur in a breach of an UN arms embargo. However, the United Arab Emirates has rejected these claims of providing any form of support to either warring parties since the onset of the civil war and condemns atrocities committed by both Port Sudan Authority and RSF as well. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Ambassador Mahis Sachdev. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for staying with us. Now, what are the implications for EU's credibility and international accountability when alleged foreign involvement in conflicts, such as the UAE's role in Sudan, is omitted from official resolution? Why do you think they have avoided mentioning UAE in particular?
Well, I think it's quite obvious that the UAE's lobbying efforts have paid off. At this stage, it is the Sudan Armed Forces government in Khartoum that has repeatedly alleged that UAE is in league with the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, which are fighting the SAF. And the UAE has been supplying them with weapons, with logistical support, and with unacknowledged hardware and economic ties. Eastern part is with the SAF, while the western part, including Darfur region and Kordofan region in the south, is with the RSF. And here I should add that UAE has never acknowledged that it has been helping RSF militarily, although sufficient circumstantial evidence suggests that this is being done either directly or through intermediaries in Chad, Eastern Libya, and South Sudan.
And how should
RSF has also denied it.
Yes.
So now European Union Parliament has felt compelled to issue a statement asking for ceasefire and peaceful conditions and stability to return to Sudan, but it has not condemned the UAE, thanks to lobbying by the UAE minister. A direct reference to UAE asking it to stop arming RSF, etc., would have unnecessarily vitiated the atmospherics between Abu Dhabi and Strasbourg or Brussels. And I think the very profitable ties between UAE, which is an economic power to contend with, for Europe, which needs investments, which needs all sort of oil-related relationship with the UAE, now that the Russian oil and gas has been denied during the Ukraine war, would not have been conducive to its overall interests. So the European parliamentarians have erred to the side of UAE and have avoided such a condemnation or urge to stop arming RSF being made. I think if it was to happen, it would be the first time that a parliament or a government would have, apart from Sudan, would have officially pointed fingers at the UAE, which would have reacted a bit vociferously to that kind of accusation. Thank you.
With that, I would like to thank Ambassador Mahi Sajdi for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we stay in the region. Moving on, Rwandan President Paul Kagame accuses the Democratic Republic of Congo of delaying the signing of a Washington-brokered peace deal intended to end decades of conflict in eastern DRC. Speaking at a press conference, Kagame says DRC has introduced new conditions that were never part of the agreement reached in Washington, claiming these changes are the reason for the holdup. The eastern region has faced 30 years of violence, which escalated in January when the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group seized major cities, including Goma and Bukavu. The DRC and Rwanda agreed to a peace framework in June, followed by a declaration of principles with M23 for a permanent ceasefire in July. Despite these steps, fighting continues with each side blaming the other. The DRC has indicated a possible December 4th signing in Washington, but DRC says he is unsure the meeting will occur, though both nations recently pledged to intensify efforts to implement the agreement. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Gautam Mukherjee. He's a senior journalist, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, what role should external mediators, such as the United States, play when one party to a peace agreement, like the DRC in this case, is perceived to be introducing new conditions?
Yeah, well, it's jockeying for advantage, leverage. If you stick to the conditions, then in the negotiations, you're likely to be whittled down, whichever side is too willing to sign on the dotted line ends up the loser. So instead, they conquer some more territory and use it as a bargaining chip. There are a lot of resources at stake here, which is why the fight is taking place. And in all probability, there are actors behind both the Congo and Rwanda and the rebels who are interested parties in the outcome and with an eye on the resources of this highly resource-rich area that has been in conflict for decades. This is, I think, 30, 40 years of conflict. It's fairly typical of conflicts in Africa, which is indeed very resource rich, and where the foreigners, particularly from Europe, have made hay all the while at the expense of the locals. But again, there are a few or, a group of locals who are allied with foreign interested parties who also supply the money and the guns and the training. So it goes on. That's why, again, with an eye on the resources, you have Washington getting involved, trying to broker a deal, has ostensibly brokered it, even though it's not holding. And similarly, the Qataris in Doha. So this will go on until a settlement behind the scenes, maybe, not at the negotiating table, but people from both the sides will talk behind the scenes and hammer out a settlement, which will then come to the table. Meanwhile, they'll fight, as is going on. more
Right.
bloodshed.
Yes, as you've already mentioned, but this prolonged conflicts like this 3-decade violence in eastern DRC, how do you think this long violence is shaping the negotiation strategies? Do you think they have learned something from this 3-decade-old conflict and the domestic pressure on national leaders when attempting to finalize and hold this peace deal?
Well, I don't think it's really up to the leaders who want to sign. It is an inability to deal with all the vested interests that are behind these people and behind the conflict. Over the 3 decades, it hasn't been the same actors. There have been a number of different people squabbling, fighting, killing, some of it and egging on different tribal groups. But, at the center of it all are the resources. So this particular fight that is attempting to be settled has different players from the ones that went before. But the area is such that it has been in conflict now for decades.
So what do you think, to what extent does the United States and Europe, as you've mentioned, this is a resource-rich area with a lot of foreign actors eyeing for resources. How do you think they should ensure, can they ensure peace in this region and maybe enforce this ceasefire to hold?
Well, back-channel diplomacy. Back-channel diplomacy makes it possible to slice up the pie to everybody's satisfaction. Some of the people who are in the way can be paid off. Some of the others who want to get involved now can be held to amounts of investment, who will do what after the war stops, all that kind of thing. But it is important to hammer these things out without the public eye focused on you. So when they come to the table and it is a matter of publicity and the media and so on, by then they should have settled matters. So I think that's what will go on now. Because ostensibly they've met and they've come to an agreement. But this is not working out for the people who have been left out of the actual negotiations.
And lastly, you mentioned that, yes, back channels, diplomacy will be the key in this. How might this focus of external mediators on formal agreements, how do you think this is overlooking or inadvertently enable the interest of regional actors who are contributing to delays or non-compliance of this ceasefire?
Well, I think they will all be involved in the back channel. In the back channel, they're not subject to political pulls and pressures. This is done in secret in third countries. They designate people who are not ostensibly well known to be part of their group. They may even try to get people from third countries and fourth countries to act on their behalf. This sort of thing is done routinely in diplomacy in areas which are very fraught. It is happening right now between the United States, Ukraine, Russia, NATO allies. There's a lot of back channel that has to go into it so that everybody's interests are taken into account and a compromise is reached. Similar things will have to be done here.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Gautam Mukherjee for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Now moving on to Tunisia, Tunisian President Kais Saied has strongly condemned the European Parliament resolution on human rights which called for the release of his government's critics. He has described the resolution as a blatant interference in Tunisia's internal affairs and rejected external pressure on how the country handles human rights issues. Said has stressed that Tunisia is fully capable of managing its own policies and ensuring rights and freedoms within the country, and he has suggested that European countries can learn from Tunisia's approach. He has also warned that foreign interventions or resolutions should not dictate national decisions, emphasizing the sovereignty of the Tunisian state in matters related to governance and justice. Now we move on to our next news.